All right, welcome back. You're on the Get Busy Living podcast, and I'm Dr. Scott from 6 Sense Acupuncture and the Healthy Habits Club. And we've got a pretty awesome guest today. So, welcome, Denna Szwajkowski. Denna, the
Szwajkowski.
Szwajkowski. Denna, the travel connector, or Denna the connector. So, you got a lot of uckers there. So, thank you so much for your time today, Denna. Anyway, and much appreciated for your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been nice getting to know you through our networking channels.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. So yeah, we're going to start off with the usual question. So, tell us what gets you out of bed every morning, Denna?
What gets me out of bed every morning, Scott? My children, essentially life, everyday life. I have 3 kids, and I guess it's the everyday run-of-the-mill stuff. Get them to school. They are now, 13, 15, and 17. So we're in the busy time of our lives. But we do have to kind of commute them to their schools, and it's just that gets me up in the morning. Besides purpose, it's my kids and the family and what we need to do in the morning. Really trying to get them to eat, trying to get out the door stress free. I think any busy mum can appreciate mornings don't always go as planned. It'd be nice if there was less stress in the morning.
So you said beside purpose. So tell us about that. What is your purpose?
Well, purpose for me has changed, I guess, at different stages in my life. Right now, I'm all about turning my passion into purpose. I live by 2 mantras: make a difference, collaborate and grow, and travel, inspire, grow. And for me, that's how I am wanting to change my life, live my life, be around the people that spark joy, and really just a lot more self-worth these days. My purpose is self-worth. Yeah.
Cool. So that's awesome. So you're basically trying to help yourself so you can help the community and help the people to be better as well. That's very commendable.
I can see that I have made choices in my life that perhaps weren't always healthy. I can also see that I've made choices in my life. We have to own the choices that we've made, and they may not have always aligned with everybody, that have come my way. And I think I've been a bit of a people pleaser, to be honest with you. I've also think I've kind of been the person that, big dreams and wanting to feel connected for various reasons. And the more work I've done on myself, I understand the reasons why. So, Denna wants to feel connected, but Denna's also felt disconnected.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, we all make mistakes, and sometimes we feel alone. And even though there's a heap of people around, you're still like, I feel lonely. But then there's those cherishable moments where you feel positive, and there's people that pep you up, and the family can do that as well. They can drag you down just as fast. I get it. I understand. So tell us, how did you get into the
travel industry?
The travel connector?
Yeah. Okay. So look, I have been in the travel industry since 2003. That's where I started as a travel agent years ago, after doing extensive amount of travel. And I started as a travel rep. I started as in the travel industry as retail travel. Then I was fortunate enough to move into a travel rep side of the business, and that led to representing other products in the travel industry, training other travel agents with set products. I have moved into, run my own agency, home-based travel agency, and this was all pre-COVID. I've also moved into other businesses, other ways, because at one point in my life, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. I felt I needed to be a stay-at-home mum. That was what it looked like would be the best for my family, and that's what I was doing. But at the same time, I also can see now that I had entrepreneurial flair, wanted to feel connected. One way I did that was before I had a business, just to get out of the house. Had a role where I now say I realized I coined the phrase "my kids are my business" till I found my business, and I ran a networking group for women with Bubs. It was actually not my business. I pioneered for a woman, an American lady from Chicago, a concept called the Founding Mums here in Australia. It grew from one meetup. Well, for her in America, it grew from one meetup to like 50 around the world. I sort of pioneered the international first chapter for her. There's a whole interesting story, manifested story or universal, why that we connected. But yeah, I didn't really realize at the time what I was doing. I was just kind of going with the flow and feeling connected to her. I look everything's hindsight. I think as things happen in life, you look back now and understand why you did things. At the time, I didn't fully understand why I was doing it, but now I can see this lady who lived in Chicago. I connected with her because my husband was from Chicago, and we'd always discussed, how home is where the heart is to me, or was, home is where the heart is. Our families were either interstate or overseas. We traveled a lot together. He'd been brought out here from, been brought out here for a company. I was always open to living elsewhere, and there's reasons for that. So for me, I guess when we were starting this family and having this family, I connected with this woman in Chicago. I think part of my intuition knew that if we're going to be moving back to Chicago at some time in our life, I would want to have a network, and people that, I could be around that wasn't just about his family. A lot of times, people get married, things happen, people move for different people. And there's a bit of a history of how, I've lived in another state for him and things like that. So, yeah, I think I didn't realize it at the time. But for me, connecting with people around the world meant that I could have a life on my own terms, but also be supportive in a world. And yeah, I'm the connector. I'm the person that probably is looked at as knowing too many people. I don't think you can ever know too many people, but it's more about obviously the deeper connections you have with people these days. So that's kind of my gift. I've always wanted to feel connected, and I'm just friendly, and I just remember names, and I remember people, and I can remember traveling. And thanks to things like Facebook, I still are in contact with those people. I know, what they're up to in their lives, even if I don't see them every day or see them every year, or even sometimes for years. Reaching out to them, connecting with them, it's like having a conversation with them, and it's just kind of feels nice to know that they were part of my life. People come into your life for a season for different reasons, and yeah, that's kind of why I feel that the world is your oyster, really, and it should be small. And wouldn't it be great to have real estate everywhere?
So that's very interesting that you started a women's group here with the Bubbers.
Yeah, but it wasn't my brand. I wasn't my brand, and I will say that
gotcha.
one point in my life from entrepreneurial learning, I realized quickly. I mean, I've always promoted. Well, I've got a history of promoting other people's businesses or products, because that's my comfort zone But I'm learning in business to do my own, and that's part of the reason why I now do the Travel Show Australia. It is a concept and an idea that I had, which was my marketing mix for my original home-based travel agency pre-COVID, and then post-COVID things changed, and when I realized perhaps getting back in the repping world was a little bit harder than I needed at the time, or the roles weren't available. There's heaps of rep roles now, and I keep going to myself, now I've got my agency, stay on one path, Denna, stay on one path. But no, this is something that has I feel very passionate about, and I'm kind of doing it a little bit differently, because I had this concept of the Travel Show Australia, travel talks, travel tips, travel tales, turns to Travel Inspire Grow. And what I wanted to do was initially just keep having conversations in a unique way, especially after COVID, to keep the conversation and content going. And luckily for me, I do know some fabulous business owners, and a very good friend was relaunching her magazine, and she wanted to put a travel section into her relaunched magazine, and we created an app. And the Mums in Business magazine had the travel show, had the travel mini mag. So there's this element of the travel mini mag that I will be relaunching this year, and new collaborations. So yeah, I'm excited that the business owners that I know are helping me grow in business, and I'm just finding my space, my more comfortable with me.
And
Being
yeah,
proud.
so that
love
so
love my business. Yeah, love my ideas. Trust myself that I know what I'm doing.
So
Not
that
letting
magazine is
stop me.
true. That the voices. I was going to say, so that the magazine, is that your idea, or was it someone else's idea, or was it a collaboration?
It was a collaboration. It was one of those opportunities where I said yes, and then found a way to do it. But I've also learned that a magazine is just one of many ways to market your business. Like I said, there's a lots of originally, sometimes you don't always know what's coming. I did have concepts around the name, the Travel Show Australia. It was about having a show, and that could be a TV show or it could be a podcast. There's just things along the way. I can see now in hindsight, I'm the reason those didn't happen. But it's along the way, sometimes you just need the right support, and I'm learning in everything. You can't do everything yourself. Sometimes you need to tap into those that that give you strength and have your back. And I've found that in the entrepreneurial. I've found that in the entrepreneurial world. Biz friends. That's kind of the space I like to play, and I like to think that I'm a great cheerleader for other business owners. And it's been a privilege to know that many business owners look at me as someone that they come to for advice, funnily enough, behind the scenes. And I'm just trying to own that space now, because my children are older. I don't think I've been lazy for the past decade, which sometimes I've heard. I've just been challenged, and this is me overcoming my challenges, even if I have to do that on my own.
I get it. So that you found it easy, obviously, to talk to others. Did you find it harder earlier on, or was it just natural for you to talk to others?
Love hearing other people's stories. I love sharing other people's stories. I think it's because I get inspired by other people. It's not about comparing myself to other people. It's just I fundamentally just
raise the bar for yourself.
I like to put myself in a room with people that I can learn from. I remember there's lots of different ways that you can understand the type of person that you are, but I did do one particular type of training, and I learned my 5 Gallup strengths. And one of the key ones is, besides being adaptable, is I'm a learner, and personal development has been really important for me. There's other reasons around that, but personal development has helped me, I guess, overcome some of the challenges. One of the challenges was earlier on, I had some depression tendencies. Postpartum depression was something that I dealt with number 2 child, and ended up going on to have number 3. So that's a journey that I know women go through. I will share my age. I'm 45 now, which means I'm moving into perimenopausal and other things as well. And that's another reason why I'm caring about my health. Just the things that I'm challenged in dealing with. And, as we've talking about off screen, and as we've got to know each other with your expertise, and I lived in China teaching English, so you're all about Chinese and herbal medicine. So I just find the things that you impart to me have been. No, I'm open to listening to these things because I'm dealing with them myself. So I haven't always accepted the challenges that I've had, or I wanted to avoid them. I've diagnosed with sleep apnea, probably too much information for some people, but sleep apnea, overactive bladder. So that has led to incontinence.
You had three
so
children.
So stuff that women, we talk about these in women groups, but there's a reason that I've needed something, and I've needed to care about my health. I've actually even realized probably too late. Had I learned it earlier, I maybe could have saved my marriage, to be honest with you. But ADHD, marriage and ADHD, there's a whole thing there. But going through that with my daughter, her getting diagnosed made me realize, holy, that's probably me. So I've gifted her that. I've heard that before. And some people see it as a strength, like a superpower. And, some people see it otherwise. And I had to adapt and own it. And that's, these are the challenges that, I'm looking at. And I think it's all down to like healthy eating can play a role in all these things, not to mention other things that I'm doing, in my, behind the scenes to
make yourself better.
Travel, inspire, and grow, and So I don't know everything, and my mum would probably kill me because I wasn't a child that ate breakfast, and I do see that sometimes getting my own, to eat, but I also have learned to listen to my body, and I think stress, and my nervous system is another reason why I haven't been able to eat. I think I also understand now that I've probably carried weight to protect myself from how I've been feeling. It's all that. I'm not an expert in it. I just have been learning from other people.
I understand. So that's it. So tell us about your travels. So you're a travel agent. So tell us, you've obviously been around a bit. So
the very first journey that I ever did was to Japan. My first overseas trip. No, actually, I used to always say my very first trip was to Japan because when I was in high school, I was blessed to be able to do a school exchange type of thing. Like we went, like the school was a school trip, and I was sent to Japan. But when I think back now, what I should say is my very first trip overseas was from Indonesia to Australia. What a lot of people don't know is that I'm adopted, and I guess own that fact now. I was from an orphanage in Yogyakarta, and like my parents did what, they're not the couple of the day anymore, but way back when, Bradulina and all that type of thing was a bit of an accessory type of thing. My parents did that way back when, and adoption in the 70s obviously existed from Asian countries. Funnily enough, Indonesia, from what I know now, stopped adoption quite some time ago, and more recently, adoption has stopped in major countries like China and Korea due to illegal findings and stuff. So there's quite the discussion in the intercountry adoption world of adoptees of, is adoption a good thing? And then coming from the travel industry, as a travel agent over the years, I have found a lot of people want to travel and what they like to do, obviously, is give back, and fantastic. But I noticed a shift in the travel industry over the years where different suppliers don't do trips to orphanages. They're all about helping local businesses in a sustainable way.
Oh no.
Growth thing that I've been through over the years. Movies and, different areas. I mean, let's just use the movie Lion, for example. At the time of when the movie Lion comes out, and everyone suddenly wants to, travel to India more, and I'm amazed by that. And then we can use Game of Thrones as an example, when everybody wants to visit the places where it's filmed. So for me, I've read books along the way growing up, and that spawned me wanting to, visit other destinations, just because, they've meant something to me. There's a personal connection. There's places that I've ended up that I've never planned to travel to. So I remember when people ask me, what is a memorable destination for you? What's your favorite destination? Well, there's been so many, but one in particular that always stands out is Tibet. Like, it's not obviously a place that you generally think you'd go to, but Tibet wasn't planned, ended up there. Just Lhasa, just the way it's so high up that the plane, it's not like the plane goes up. It just feels like the plane's, I don't know. It will always just remind me, just living in China and trying to get the permission to get to Tibet. That's a bit of was a process way back then. I was living in China, teaching English when the Twin Towers was hit. So that was an experience, just being in that country, seeing their point of view. What else? Yeah, I'm married. I got a Polish surname, so I married a Polish American. But my family name, my maiden name before that, was Comerford, so that's got Irish roots. And I just think nowadays too, ancestral travel, and there's a reason why people want to explore not just the destinations that are personal to them, but what's out there. There's transformation in travel, and that's kind of why the platform that I'm building is all around transformational travel. There's people's transformation. I can help people take their Buddhists to new places, but I can also help people with their personal transformational journeys, and I do that in the health and wellness space as well.
And so tell us. So it was Japan that you went to first?
Yeah, well, if you want to say international destination from Australia, yes, to Japan. I actually have my original passport from when I was adopted. So, like, the one that was used, the Indonesian passport that was used for me to come here. It has a different name on it too, which is, when you're in the adoptee space, is kind of special, and I'm lucky. I know that there's other fellow adoptees that don't have their original documents and are trying to get their original documents. So I feel I've had a very blessed adoption. But I know through the communities that I'm involved in that not everyone feels that way. And there is a passion project that I have called My Adoptive Heart, where I want to explore conversations with other adoptees, and creating, a healing room, which is designed around connecting and bring that bridge for practitioners in trauma. So there's just a lot of ideas and things that I've had, and it's around the whole concept for me of making a difference, collaborating and growing, and then traveling, inspiring and growing. And luckily, travel, everyone loves to talk about travel. Luckily, Australians, we live on an island where we live, and we have to travel, and we're not scared of traveling.
Yeah, that's very true. So I'm interested in in China you were teaching. Was it
Mhm.
was it what do you call it? The contracts that you do for 6 months and
Yeah, I had a 12-month contract. Actually, it was 6 months and then renewed. But
yeah.
I had an experience where I was living up towards the very like northeastern China, up near Harbin.
Okay.
Harbin is near in Daqing, where it's very cold, and Harbin is known for the Snow and Light Festival, and it's right near
Would
the Russian border. So
okay. It's not
yeah,
near
so that was a
Korea.
different type of. That's a very different experience. Uh, in up that side of up that end of China, so to speak. I did spend a lot of time traveling to different parts of China before I left.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of expats, when they're living in a country, they work to earn the local currency, and then
Yeah.
travel around as much as they can before they move on. I mean, like I said, I was in my 20s then. This is way back before I had kids, and a lifetime ago. But I found
How'd
that.
you,
Sorry.
how did you get on with language? So could you
Well,
speak
that's another
Mandarin?
story. I learned Japanese at high school. However, this opportunity arose, and it was living teach in China, and I just said yes. And I went there having no language ability. Um, but mean, my family thought I was crazy because, like, why don't you go teach in Japan? At least you had been learning it for years. I didn't. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I was called and I did it. And I'd love to be a polyglot. I would love for I'd love to think that I know an Asian language, a European language, and English, and music. And I've always said that, and I'm fortunate that that's. I think hopefully I've influenced my kids in a positive way. Not pressured them, but by choice.
Yeah.
Music's language. The languages that they've done, they could do. Yeah, I just linguistically, that's just something that I always think is really cool. I think the world's your oyster if you can communicate around the world. That's something that's.
I'm
always.
just thinking that because you're in a fairly remote area, were there any expats in the area or?
Yeah, it was. Well, everybody wanted to practice English with you. And at that stage too, that was after Tiananmen Square, but before the way things are now. And let's just say there was certain people in that sort of monitored the things you said and you said back then. And I remember, even though I was teaching for the oil field companies, because there's a lot of oil field companies at that time, in a private institution. I was contracted out to the middle schools, so I was also teaching for the kids, and I was also doing private lessons, and they just it was. Even though I had a degree at that stage, because you had to have at least a Bachelor of Arts to have this role, my role was to be conversational. And they wanted you to talk with them mainly. I mean, yes, there was a curriculum that I had to follow, but at that time, teachers are revered over there. If you're, I was a 21-year-old Western woman. I remember feeling like, oh, you're Asian, you need an Asian boyfriend or husband or whatever, type of thing. They were so intrigued that at my age I was over there, living this life and teaching. Teachers were just very respected, and I remember the community of other expat teachers came from all over the place. In particular, where I lived, Canada was a big draw card. There were a lot of Canadian teachers that were I guess set there, because I guess even now countries, cities have sister countries, sister cities to promote tourism and exchanges and stuff like that. But yeah, that's just a you want to immerse yourself in the culture. When I had friends visit, or I was out with other foreigners, sometimes it was. I remember one situation. Once you learn a local language and you're accepted as, I guess, a local, you really understand the power of the Western price that they offer you and the local price that they offer you.
Yeah,
sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and sometimes I had a foreign girlfriend with me, very blonde. After a while, just have her hide behind the tree. I negotiate with the taxi, and she comes
So you can
out.
get a cheaper rate. Yeah, I get it.
The true rate. Yeah. But no, it was great. I was given a Chinese name, Xiaohua, which is little flower.
I was just going to say Xiao. Xiao means little.
Yeah, little flower. That became a term of endearment, later on in life. My daughter, my first daughter, I ended up calling her Jasmine for that one particular reason, little flower. She was born in September. September is obviously a great herbal tea as well. And in September, it smells divine. So, yeah, this is how experiences in my life have impacted the way I chose to do things. And, it's just that West meets East type of thing that I've done, because like her middle name's Sarah, and that's like the American version of Shiraz. And I grew up in McLaren Vale, and that's obviously a wine industry area. So there's just your experiences and your things. There's this little connections and things that are important to you, and you create your own traditions. So that's what traveling the world means to me. And there's not to go all literacy on you, but there's a quote from as an adoptee, and I will say Anna Green Gables. Most girls connect to that growing up. As an adoptee, there's a quote which is what the world holds for you is what you bring to it. So I guess part of me always wanted to travel the world, and my mother always said that she knew from a young age that she'd be doing a lot of trips to the airport, and I'm experiencing that now too. As a mother, I've got a child that all she wants to do is travel, and she's experienced that herself. And yeah, I mean, my kids are overseas now. Actually, my kids, this is the first time I'm in. It's school holidays. My kids are overseas with their father, missing them like crazy. Obviously not going to stop them, because I want them to spend time with family, and they haven't been back to see family since, I think it's about 8 years now. We were booked to go, then COVID happened and we had to cancel a big trip, which was a bit devastating. So yeah, I've felt that pain from the travel industry, also what it's been like to deal with stress, friends dealing with stress and mental health over that period, just dealing with everyone's cancelled travel. So the travel industry is always changing. It's a great industry now. We just wanted to keep the conversations going, and I think Australia is one of the earlier countries to really embrace traveling again.
Yeah, that's right. They're slowly getting back into it, and I see the cruise boats are starting to get back in swing as well. I see they've changed a few.
I've done a lot of bookings for cruise in 2026. Already. People are certainly wanting to travel again, and I think too, from a mental health point of view, people then have something to look forward to. It's almost like you want to book a holiday, and you want to book a holiday again just to recover from the holiday you've been on. You know, that next people, you know, and there's those that make a business out of traveling the world, and then there's those that have the job, but they do that because there's ways to travel, and they want to do that. Everyone loves travel, Well, I like to think of one thing that I'm doing in my business is wine and wanderlust. I'm focusing on wine and wanderlust, because I've got my connections in the wine industry, and I've got my connections in the travel industry, and I sort of focusing on promoting things in that area, and the taste of travel. It's just a bit of a marketing thing, but at the same time, it means a lot to me. And that's kind of where I'm at as the travel connector. I am trying to be an expert in travel, but at the same time, open up, ways that I can continue, doing what I love. And I can see that at some stage now in my life, I want to feel connected. I never wanted to go back to. I've traveled many places, but not Indonesia. And now, because I've been doing a lot of my own research over the years on myself, I'm learning things about my ancestry, and I'm in what we call in the fog right now. I haven't found my birth parents, but it's certainly kind of like a quest. I could. Yeah. I have actually learned that I've actually known my original family, my original parents' names. I'm very blessed to know that that was on documentation, and a lot of adoptees don't have that. But now it's kind of like, well, what do I need to do? What can I do? What do I need to do to, do that in another country? I don't speak the language Indonesian, no. I did learn at university for a year, but what do I need to do with the information that I've got? It's kind of like, a private detective, are you...
We've got to figure it out, yeah.
Do I know? Somehow the connections hopefully will lead me to, I don't know. I don't know. This whole dream world that I have. Maybe that one day I will find them, or at least learn about the history. So when we talk about healthy habits, we talk about health. One thing that could be quite triggering is when you're growing up, or now that I have kids, if something happens to me and I go to the doctor, they always say, well, tell me about your family history. I haven't known my family history. So, that's another reason why, again, I'm paying more attention to my health and how that fits into my genealogy, stuff like that.
So what I was going to say, so you obviously traveled to the States a lot, I suspect.
Over the years, more so to see family. Funny, I married a Polish Catholic, and we did once our kids were born, we would go back to have their christenings. So, my kids I think nowadays kids get passports a lot earlier in life. You know what I mean? They've done a lot of travel before they've started school, and that's just amazing. Like I know that my parents didn't do a lot of travel until, I was 1997. I was in university, but my parents did their first big trip overseas, and I know that they, it was the norm. You get married, you have a house, your kids grow up, and then you do the big trip. That was their part of their, we're going into retirement. And my parents have always fashionably said they're on the ski program, which is the spend the kids' inheritance program. So that's what they wanted to do, and good on them. So they worked really hard to be able to do that. Now sadly, my dad has passed on. He had, he actually died of brain tumors, and potentially because of stress, work, things that I know about how he was a workaholic. So yeah, there's certain things that, on hindsight now, I think we need to really pay attention to our health. And I wish I cared about it earlier, but I just want to make sure my kids do now. Now we can only change the next generation, right?
Yeah, that's right. The other thing is, but you understand what their where their what their history is as well, and you can give a little bit of insight into the family as well for them. So tell us about how you've helped someone with their travels, whether I know they got stuck or just trying to get to some place and they couldn't for whatever reason.
Well, my biggest success story at the moment, which I'm funnily enough, is that I just recently helped a network marketing company. We had 100 cabins booked on a social cruise. That was a fantastic experience. Obviously, A as an agent, but B to be a part of that, and how travel brings people together. How I've helped people. This is kind of why I wanted to do the show, because as I've met amazing business owners, it's not just about travel influencers these days. As I've met amazing business owners, often sometimes it's the real deal travel stories. Like I've met a lady recently, some time ago, but her story always sticks with me. Her mother died overseas. And these are the type of things like what do you do? What's that process? Why that's of course why it's important to have travel insurance. There's a whole other conversation there. How I've helped people look. I remember one client that stands out to me personally is and it's how she thanked me later on. Totally unexpected, didn't expect this, but this client, how did I help? Well, you throw me under the I don't know, it's there's so many different clients out there that you help. I think I live vicariously through my clients. If I'm not planning my own trip, Scott, it's the pleasure of planning a trip for someone else. But it's really finding out what it is that they desire and how they do it. At the moment myself, because I am finding a real interest in the health and wellness space, I'm finding a lot of business owners my age wanting to do retreats. So I myself am creating retreats and marketing the retreats of others. And, that's the path that I'm on now. I had a destination wedding personally. I got married in Fiji. I've honeymooned in Vanuatu and Fiji. And the reason we had a destination wedding was because, well, quite frankly, we wanted to invite everybody. Sometimes weddings can divide people, but the idea for us was, we could invite everybody and anybody, and those that really wanted to be there would turn up, and that was fabulous. Fiji was neutral ground. We hadn't been there before, but we wanted to, and that's why we had it. I loved it because I had an international buffet. Just had to choose a resort. Was intimate. About 30 people from our families, friends showed up from around the world, and Fiji is a great place from Australia to be able to do that. So, I find that I think what I'm passionate about is how I've sold travel over the years and what I've done, and a lot of experienced travel agents, because there's so many out there, have got their own roots in travel being a route of their growth. You travel for inspired growth in my mind, and that's kind of how I want to impart my knowledge and leave a legacy on the world. I like supporting businesses that are traveling for a social purpose or a charity or raising money. in the travel mag that I had, I remember a number of business owners that I like to highlight because they're either going overseas to, it might be to, because they've raised money and they're, giving back to their community. They've taken a group of people to do that. Something that I've got in the works with a client of mine is she has a passion about helping animal action, so she's an animal advocate, what's the word? Activist. And she has done a lot over the last 18 years, raising money for animal charities. But she has this, this goal to help the elephants. And I personally took agents on a familial once to Chiang Mai and had got to experience the elephants. Now, things have changed in the years that I, have been in travel. Nowadays, you should not ride elephants, but and that's highly promoted. But it's what has happened to the elephants over the years. There's a story around how they've got there. It's remarkable, how they're there to live out their life. What else? Another girlfriend of mine in the travel, another girlfriend of mine, she's just returned from Nepal. And she's over a number of years. She's, first of all, they bought goats for this community, and she's all about raising money to help that earthquake community, and the earthquake community, like that was so long ago, but new things have happened, but those villages are forgotten, In the community that I'm in now, in the health community that I'm in now, there's a lady who's passionate about building the water wells in Cambodia. And I have been to Cambodia myself, so firsthand I've seen what it's like there. That's what I would like. I would love to take my children on trips like that, so they can understand how blessed and lucky they are to have what they have. And I think there's a lot more travel like that. A lot of fantastic companies focus on family trips, and it's experiential. It's all about the experience, and getting close up with and local, and not just on a tour coach bus. And there's so many different ways to travel. My background as a travel worker has been in the adventures travel space, but now that I'm a little bit older, I'm learning to travel in a new way. It's suiting my lifestyle, or I would like it to suit my lifestyle. So it's amazing what the world has for you, and I want to claim my space in it.
So have you got to see the Southern Lights or the Northern Lights as well?
Not yet. I haven't been to Scandinavia to see that. I was supposed to take a trip to that. I was on a familial set to do that, just based on an experience. But I remember that didn't happen. So there's always places. There's always a bucket list, right? Places where, what about you? Where do you want to go, Dr. Scott?
I'd love to see Ireland, because that's where my family's from.
Ireland.
That's my great grandfather was Irish. He spoke fluent Irish. I'd like to see the usual pyramids, and I'd like to see the Rhine as well.
I have been to Egypt.
Yeah, you got to see it.
Yeah, cool. I traveled with that was before I was married, but I traveled with a company that's adventure travel. I traveled with geckos back then, but they're peregrine geckos peregrine. I remember traveling with them. Look, the space. I've been going on my own spiritual awakening and journey, and there's something very, I want to say, magical or sacred about Egypt that I didn't realize at the time, but I'm really intrigued to go back there now. I remember traveling down Egypt on the Nile on a river boat, but I remember experiencing a felucca, and that's like the old way that they used to in the old days, in history's times. And I don't know, I don't know what you believe, but I sometimes I start to hear stories of people in businesses that, talk about timeline therapy and past lives and stuff like that. And again, there's a real spiritual core to certain places around the world I would like to explore. We're transforming.
All right, looks like Denna's got a little internet problem.
Hello, you're back.
You're coming back? Good work.
Not sure.
So yeah, that's all good. Thank you for the stories. That's pretty cool. Well, I'll just move on because it's 2:00. So just tell us who's your ideal client? Who's your ideal avatar?
Who's my ideal client? Well, right now I seem to have moved into a JV agency space. I've had a number of business owners in the business world who've asked me to facilitate and be their travel agency for what they're doing in business, which is really exciting. So right now, my ideal client are business owners that would like to have that element of travel to their business. And yeah, I've got one in the works. I'm very fortunate that I'm working with someone who has a goal actually in the corporate space. He has a golf and events business, and he has done travel with that in the past. He's a professional golfer. He's been in that world, and moving forward, that's something that we're doing. So golf, wine and wanderlust. I'd like to. I don't know. I like to collaborate, and I get ideas around things that bring me joy. So, if business owners align with make a difference, collaborate and grow, and travel, inspire, grow, I'd love to chat to them.
So, also I wanted to bring up. So, you've done a chapter in a book as well. So, tell us about that.
Yes, yeah, I've done two. I've done 2 chapters, 2 books actually. Just after COVID, I was in a collaborative book project called Radiant with a bunch of amazing ladies, and that chapter that we wrote was all about what has come out of the darkness of COVID, how we've pivoted in business or how we've pivoted in life. And then the recent book, actually it's just here, it's Rising into Greatness, stories from inspiring, encouraging women. So I actually was at a Worthy Woman movement, because that's 2-day conference on the weekend, hence we were laughing because here's the tape earlier on before we started. That's the tiara from the weekend. All of us got a tiara in our gift bag. And I think, well, I know personally, besides working with Joe Worthy, who's the founder of this Worthy movement, I've been doing a lot of self-development, self-aware, just to understand, from a healing journey point of view that I need to be on at the moment. But yeah, my story was in this. There's 10 other amazing stories, and it's if people read this, it hopefully will inspire you that you can change your life if you need to,
Cool. And all right, I'll move on to the last question. So, what ideas or information would you give us to provide lifelong longevity?
Life longevity. Well, you need to care about your health. At the moment, I've got I don't know, it's a vehicle, it's a part of my transformational travel business. Yes, I help people get to new destinations, but I also help people with their personal journey. And for me, the personal journey is taking a natural supplement that's helped me with areas that I've talked about, my sleep apnea, my overactive bladder, got me off my antidepressants. It's helped calm my mind and my brain with ADHD, and it's a natural supplement. So I know that you're very supportive of that because of your background. It's plant medicine basically. And yeah, the how it's transformed my life is it's transformed my travel business as well, but it's allowed me to focus on that area of my business. So you say, how do we get up early in the morning? Well, I mean, that's helped me get up early in the morning. I get up in the morning easily. I have a lot more energy. That's just the start of it, Not that I want to go on to the spiel of things, but I wish I invested in my health earlier on, in a way that was more natural. Yeah, and that's kind of the journey I'm on at the moment.
That's awesome. And
because I want to make sure when I move into the menopausal years that I don't have the type of things that I know that have happened to me, with the hormone changes. Because I know that I haven't been great with hormonal changes, and I don't know if that's because of my past, my ancestry, but I didn't do those hormonal changes with pregnancy well. Let's just put it that way. So, that's
it's quite common. I wouldn't.
The future is bright. Yeah.
You would have spoken to a lot of women. I do. I talk to a lot of women. There's a lot of women that go through that when they have children. So I understand. I get it. So all right, much appreciated, Denna. I could talk all day to you.
Yeah, and I could talk all day with you as well.
It's just a wealth of information and amazing background and where you've been and what you've done, and that's most important, the experience. You can't teach that. So that's very commendable, and I mean that you can pass it on to the community as well, and have people understand from your point of view what you've seen, and I get it, and also you obviously kids can benefit from that as well. So thank you so much for providing all that information, even though I want to talk to you more, but we're sort of running out of time. So
no, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to have a growth moment of talking about myself. I know it sounds silly, but I generally am a connector. I talk fantastically about other people's business because that's my expertise, is knowing what other people do, to connect them, to be strategic partnerships and collaboration made easy. So it's new for me to talk about myself in a public sense. I'm becoming more vulnerable in that sense, wanting to. So thank you.
You've got a wonderful story, Denna. So keep it up. Keep talking about it. So thanks very much, guys. Thank you, Denna. So thanks for tuning in to the Get Busy Living podcast with the wonderful Denna the Connector Szwajkowski. Did I get that right?
Szwajkowski? You did. That's pretty
good. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Get Busy Living podcast. Take care, guys.
Certainly keep busy.
Thanks, Denna.